and back the admonition with a sharp pinch. I clenched my lips and kept silent. Even at 3, I well knew that a pinch was a warning of worse things to come if I disobeyed. I saw that the child was barely submersed in the water before the Queen snatched her out of it, and that scarcely a trowelful of dry soil was dribbled down her back, never touching her head and brow at all. The little princess was startled, but not weeping, as the Queen handed her over to her royal father. Virile lifted her high, and the nobility of the 6 duchies solemnly bowed before the Farseer heir. As her father lowered her, Caution began to wail, and Virile quickly handed her to her mother. Even more swiftly, the Queen passed her to my mother. Wiped clean and wrapped in her blankets, Caution settled again, and my mother returned her to the Queen. I remember little more of that day, save for a comment I heard pass from one duke to another. She was under the water so briefly the bubbles didn't even rise from her skin. Her name was not sealed to her. The other shook her head. Mark me well, Baines. Her parents will not have the heart to raise her as sternly as they ought. On the day that Princess Caution Farseer was born, my mother had weaned me. She would have weaned me when I was 2, but when she learned that Queen Capable was with child, she kept me at the breast to be sure that she would still be in milk when the royal infant was born. My grandmother had been Queen Capable's wet nurse, and had won the promise from her mother that when the time came, her own daughter would likewise serve her family. It was our great good luck that Lady Capable grew up to wed King Virile. Queen Capable might have forgotten her mother's promise, but my grandmother and mother certainly did not. The women of our family have long had a tradition of providing for their daughters as best they may. We are not a wealthy family, nor of noble lineage, but many a high-born child has been nourished on our rich milk. I lived at Buckkeep with my mother during the year she suckled Princess Caution. My mother saw to it that from the first day the princess was entrusted to her care, I served Her Royal Highness. At first my duties were small and simple: to fetch a warm washcloth, to bring a clean napkin, to carry a basket of soiled little garments down to the washerwomen. But as I grew, I became the princess's servant more than my mother's helper. I held her hands for her first toddling steps, interpreted her babyish lisping for adults too stupid to understand her, and helped her in all ways that an older sister might help a younger one. If she wanted a toy, I fetched it for her. If she finished her bread and milk and wanted more, I gave her mine. For my mother whispered into my ear every night before I slept, "Serve her in all things, for if she makes you hers, then you have made her yours as well. Then perhaps, as you grow, your life will be easier than mine has been." So, from a very early age, I gave way to the princess in all things. I soothed her hurts, quieted her tantrums, and indulged her in every small way that I could. It was me she wanted to cut her meat, and me who tied her slippers. My bed was beside my mother's, in the room adjacent to the Princess Caution's nursery. When she had a restless night, an evil dream, or a teething fever, I often slept in her big, soft bed beside her, and she took comfort from my presence. I became invisible, as much a part of the princess as her little green cloak or her lacy white nightdress. Queen Capable was a doting but not attentive mother. She adored the sweet, calm moments with her baby, but quickly surrendered the child to my mother's care the moment Caution became soiled, fractious, or trying. That suited my mother well. She always did her best to give the Queen exactly the experience of her child that she wished to have. I marked well how this benefited my mother and me in my childish way. I mimicked this behaviour with the little princess. Caution was not sickly, but neither was she a hearty infant. Even when she could hold her own spoon, she was fussy about what she ate. The only food that she never refused was the milk of my mother's breast. Perhaps that was why she was allowed to nurse long past the age at which most children are weaned. But the more likely reason was that the little princess was never refused anything she wanted. She had only to shed a single tear, and all past rules were overturned that she might be the exception. She was over 4 years old when finally she gave up the teat, and only because my mother caught summer fever and her milk dried up. Nobler women than we had long been